What's the weirdest SZL request you've ever had? I dated a guy who had a trash bag fetish. Some way he got a humongous bag that we both fit into and we ate inside it. The feeling of the bag on your skin was actually quite pleasant. Dated a girl that wanted me to slap her face with my dick. At first I was like yeah. But she got increasingly harder with the slaps. The underside of my junk would be burning. She was slapping her face so hard. It was 100% what turned her on, to the point that I lobbed a hot dog at her one time as a joke during a cookout and hit her in the face, and later she told me she got turned on from it. Should have just put on a blindfold on her and opened a pack of bratwursts and slapped the out of her with the power of German Schmeat. Post-SX. There have been 2 women who've asked me to put my soft penis in them while we spoon and sleep. I had a GF who had a high SX drive, and after a day of doing it I was spent. But she was still wound up. She asked if she could suck my dick while it was soft. However, she was also easily embarrassed. So my look of confusion was enough to ruin it for her, and she just said never mind and went to sleep. I don't think she was super into the idea specifically. I think she just wanted more SZL contact. Cause she never brought it up again. She said me like a little girl. I couldn't help myself but ask, and how would you like this little girl to you? She didn't see the humorous side. Sadly. If my husband could post this. One time my husband let me tie a Sharpie to his boner while he laid in bed. I held a piece of card over it and had him try to write a bunch of stuff with his dick. Fast forward weeks later when my mother asks whose kid drew the picture on the fridge, as we don't have kids. Girl I dated didn't want dick pics but wanted videos of me peeing. Like consistently. Never got tired of them. She dated 8 other men at the same time and just run a very niche PRN hub account. One of my ex-boyfriends had a thing with power. He would only ever finish once I told him he could. It was kinda hot. Oh. My ex would go crazy. Right when she would be on the brink of coming. I'd tell her. Don't you dare come until I tell you to. If you come, I'm stopping. When I finally let her come, she would just collapse. Good times. He asked if I would kidnap him, tie him up, pee on him, wrestle him into a sleeping bag, put him in a sofa bed, fold him in, sit on it, and watch movies while peeing the couch. I thought he was joking. He was not. I had a boyfriend ask me to dress him in a skirt and apply a full face of makeup before pegging him. I of course obliged because strange random opportunities such as that don't present themselves often. I made him look like a real high class. He decided to continue globbing on makeup to the point that he was objectively unable. I courtesied him anyways. But it was pretty disturbing. The way he did his makeup made me feel like I was dominating a very submissive, yet deranged up clown. Plus, I was a bit annoyed he had wasted so much of my makeup creating such a colorfully horrific show on his face. I can't imagine you rage-eyeing him because he wasted your makeup. That's hilarious. She told me to roll a dice some mornings in secret. If it came up a 1 I had to pay her at some point before the day was up. The weird part was that she insisted on not having a safe word. Apparently that ruined it for her. She wanted to feel completely powerless with absolutely nothing she could say or do to stop it once she'd set things in motion. I'm honestly not sure what I would have done here. I feel like when doing anything even remotely related to our pay fantasy, a safe word is a must. Randomly. Without me knowing when. Wake me up by licking my toes. It was guaranteed SX. So I did it a lot. Alarm clock blowjob is hot too. My first girlfriend wanted me to put on her skirt and she would put on my clothes. I just lifted the skirt and ate her. She asked me to call her by a different name. Which wasn't too weird on its own. It became weird when I found out it was her roommate's name. Hitting. Not just playful hitting or slapping some ass. It was like a demon had taken over her body and she was yelling at me to hit her in the face as hard as I could. Felt like I was in a really tight PRN shoot. I was once asked if she could call me daddy. sounds normal enough, but then she said, "Daddy, faster before mommy comes home." I was once with this girl and we were in the middle of sex and then she out of the blues choked me and said cut my nipples. I was about to come at that time, but after hearing that my penis shrinked and I shivered. She told me again and again to cut her nipples like with a scissor or something, and I couldn't help but try to avoid it. When she knew I wasn't going to do that, she spanked me so hard and cut her hair. The most cursed night of my life till date. Not a request to me, but I used to work in the PRN industry and it's common on shoots for the performers to discuss signals and what gets each other off. Especially the guy, so they can time the money shot. One male performer has a specific thing that requires someone to rub his belly, like between pubes and belly button area, with their palm in order for him to come. It's very oddly specific, but I'm guessing he's trained himself to associate that sensation with nutting. It's not easy for male performers as they are often on a timer. Like directors give them a signal to do money shot and they have to come on command. Come. When I was 18, I had a guy ask me to bite down hard on his pinky finger as I wanked him off. His little finger had scar tissue all around it. I don't know if it was from his own teeth as he masturbated or from other people, and I didn't ask. Nor did I bite it. That relationship ended quickly. I don't have much experience to go on and didn't really have anything to compare it to at the time, but thought it was a weird kink to have. When I relayed this story to my husband early in our relationship, he laughed his ass off and confirmed that yes, it was a weird kink. A guy I used to go out with wanted to go down on me while I was on my period. Said he wanted to feel like a werewolf eating his prey. you.I, thank you. Dodge a silver bullet there. All of the women I've been with think that doggy style is being kinky. Yes. Both of them. She was a nurse. She put a plastic sheet on the bed and told me to slowly feed the string of beads up her ass as I licked and fingered her PSSY. Then she told me to her as hard as I could. And when she told me to pull the beads out fast, I did. Everywhere. I did not come that night. On Omegle. Stranger. Would you like to watch me on a plate? Me. Thinking it's a gag. Yeah, let's see it. S. Proceeds to turn around. I'm metal. She asked me to sing to her. I'm not musically gifted in any way, but I have been called a smartass on more than one occasion. So I sang I'm a little teapot. May have ruined that session, but was kinda worth it, emo. She wanted to be treated like a baby and pee in a makeshift diaper. He grosses me out, but whatever. I'll try most anything once. And it made her happy. It was the reason for the rule: if you get the bodily fluid on the laundry, you do that laundry. Because old sheets are gross AF and I wasn't gonna do laundry every week. But she hated doing laundry too. So we only did it that once. We've broken up ages ago, but that rule stands should I have a partner in future. You deliberately make a bio mess. Okay. But you clean that mess. My husband asked us to have sex wearing a Minnie and Goofy costume. I thought it was strange, but I agreed. At the time of the act, he was laughing like Goofy and saying, "Hey, don't tell Mickey." A former FWB asked me to her hole holding a knife to her throat. It had to be a real knife too. If she knew it was fake, it wouldn't work for her. Future suggestion: a butter knife that's been in the freezer will feel sharp against the skin. Using as blindfold would then help the illusion last. Take off your socks. No. She asked me to come on a bowl of strawberries and she would then eat them. Good for her. I had someone tell me that she wanted to bite my lower stomach until I bled, then use my blood as lube to her in the ass. I was about 14 at the time and had absolutely zero clue how to respond. Edit. Well, I think that's enough Reddit for today. And look, it's only 11 AM. I am getting the most confused boner of my life reading some of these replies. A friend of mine once told me about a guy who only had sex with him if there was a bucket in the bedroom. They didn't even use the bucket. It was just a random requirement. Okay. This is awful. I got propositioned by a colostitute. Be careful with that, Google. Edit. I'm so sorry. So very sorry for this mental picture. My imagination came up with an answer for what that is. And no thanks. I'm not gonna Google it to confirm. Probably choking. Like until the point of passing out. Maybe not super weird. But I looked it up to know how to do it safely. And found out it really can't be done without very serious risks. So I passed out. Had a FWB who used to sleep over at my apartment. She once told me that she likes to sleep naked. And that she wanted me to wake her up with my dick. Like whenever I wanted to. In whatever hole I wanted. The rougher the better. She was a good friend. Did you ever just tap her on the shoulder with it? I have been asked to go myself. Had a boy who apparently fell in love with me after watching me choke on a GRP request that I freeze my period blood in an ice tray so he could use the ice cubes to make smoothies in the morning. When I declined, he offered to pay me. I was 16. He was 17 or 18. Edit. What in the did I just read? Girl I just met knew I had cocaine. Did you? I mean, this probably isn't that weird in the realm of weird sex stuff, but a guy I hardly knew once asked me, while sober, if I'd pee into his open mouth. I politely declined and he offered to pay. I still declined, but considering the current economic climate I kinda wonder what that dude's up to. A guy I dated wanted me to put a fork up his ass. Unusual request for sure. Which direction? This is important. He was super into nudes, common, and an L insertion, common. But I gradually found out that the objects he preferred to see me use were less common. I was so in love with him that I started finding whatever bizarre objects I could to take pictures with. One morning, I wandered into my workplace's kitchen to find that a co-worker had brought in, fresh from her garden, a basket of squash. Never in my life have I felt such a strong mix of pride and shame as I did that day. This girl asked me to surprise pay her. It freaked me out. She gave me her schedule and explained how she would be at the library every night for 2 weeks until midnight leading up to final exams. She asked me to attack her on her walk back from the library but didn't want to know when or where on her walk back to her place. Probably shouldn't do it in case she gets off on getting guys arrested and ruining their lives. Girlfriend asked to call me daddy. I said yes. She says oh daddy. I said oh mommy. Then suddenly she didn't have daddy fantasies anymore. Was doing Uber Lyft a few years ago. Was chatting with this guy as I took him home after clubs one Saturday night. We get back to his place and he asks if he could give me a blowjob if he paid me $100. It was his thing. I said no thanks, my wife would be upset. Relating the story to her the next morning, she was indeed upset. We could have used $100. Full stop. He wanted me to play dentist on him and hurt him while I poke around in there with dental picks and tools. A girl I met at the bar wanted to take me home and blow me while I shat in her toilet. Said she enjoyed the smell of poo while a load gets blown in her mouth. The old blumpkin. She used to go to sleep and tell me when you think I'm deeply asleep. Touch me. Lick me. Be how you want. If she suggested it and you both consented before and talked after, then that's completely okay. To cover my dick in peanut butter and let her lick it off. My friends and I were all partying and were pretty drunk. One of my buddies was there, so we were making out on and off throughout the night. There was another guy who I just met who found out I was a switch, dom sub, and was super into the idea of me cucking and dominating him, brought it up throughout the night. Around bedtime I told him to go sleep on the floor because I wanted to sleep on the couch with my FWB, and he said that's so hot and went right to the floor. My friend and I started getting handsy, and then we heard from the ground, "Is there anything I can help you with?" and asked 3 times before we stopped and just went to bed. And then I woke up in the morning to my toes in his mouth. Knew a girl in college who was adamant about putting the condom on me with her mouth. Play with my dermal piercings. They were on her hips. One of them came out and it was gross. I've had a few. Most are weird to me because I have really weird issues about violence during sex. But the worst was most definitely. She wanted me to choke her until she passed out. Then ejaculate on her face while she was unconscious. She was crazy. Like not in an I'll stab you during your sleep crazy, she was an awesome person, we did a lot of messed up together. Just her sexual boundaries were terrifying. Also she had quite a few dudes as almost slaves. She made one dude tattoo on his pubic bone, her name's Little. She wasn't even sleeping with him. It was just a complete and utter, well, simp relationship maybe? I dunno. He threatened me once lol. My ex became increasingly addicted to everything about my body as time went on. At first it was normal like my spit, and then it became my sweat. Which was still okay. And then it became my pee, and eventually he asked me to fart in his mouth. I stopped before the whole thing escalated into a storm. A girl I dated sophomore year of college handed me a large, fluffy ostrich feather and asked me to gently caress every part of her body with it. Handed me a large, fluffy ostrich feather. Sorry. I brought my own. Someone offered me $200 to on them. I asked for $500. They didn't agree. Not like a request, but her saying you can do anything with me, hit me, spit on me, you name it. I felt like a child at the candy store and didn't know where to start. Edit. My previous top voted comment was about how my ex falsely claimed that I was an abuser, and now this. Thank you. Guys. Squeeze the butt. Roommate with 2 girls and 2 guys. Big house. We are all studying at the same place. 6 months in, and one day I accidentally enter one of the bathrooms. One of the girls is taking the Browns to the Super Bowl. And the air quality makes it clear that things are well on their way. She looks at me direct into my eyes and says she wants to suck my dick. I manage to bumble an okay. To which she replies, right now. If you leave the bathroom I won't want to. I only want to do it right now. Note swiftly. I did it. I read all of them and got to the bottom. I was asked if I wanted to see some watercolor paintings of Billy's. I remember watching a movie with an ex who I'm still good friends with, and she suggestively leaned closer to me and whispered, "I've got an interesting way of torturing you." I laughed it off until she lunged for me, pinned me down on the couch, and I just waited for her torture, only for her to start talking words of encouragement. "You are a valid and important person, and your emotions are justified, and you deserve to be loved." Needless to say, she did as she promised. That was some severe torture I still haven't recovered from. A girl once asked if I would mind if she called me daddy. I didn't really think much of it and said sure, that's fine with me. Fast forward to us going at it, and I could tell she was getting close because she just kept saying "oh, daddy" over and over and over again for like a legitimate 3 minutes. I was hitting it hard from the back with this one girl, and she told me to me like a toaster as she came. It's been like 12 years and I'm still confused. I know it is popular, but asking for toe sucking was always weird to me. I had one lady that wanted me to slap this hell out of her tits. I thought that hurt, but it taught me everybody is different. Oh boy. Let's see here. It was once requested that I put on a costume, hair and all, to look like a stereotypical mother from the 1950s. Then from there she wanted to be put into a large box, tied up, and have me fill it with packing peanuts as well as clothes and tape the box shut. It took me a few minutes to process it all, but damned if you don't do the weirdest things for those you love, haha. It was like therapy for her in the end after I got her out. Edit. Since someone asked. I am a woman. Be me hit in it doggy style. She looks back and with those me eyes says, "Fist my ass." Obviously this isn't that weird, but it's one of those had to be there moments. This was probably our 2nd or 3rd time hooking up, and she had never mentioned anything like this before. Edit. Sorry to be that guy, but this is actually my first award. Hooray for an L fisting. A girl wanted me to wear a Teletubby costume while she pegged me. Can I get her number for my friend? Had a girl ask to hold my head in her arms and suck on her tit like a baby. We were 17. She had double D's. Yeah. You did it. No judgment. She wanted me to hit her. Like really hard. 22yo virgin girl. Christian background. Never even saw PRN. In nurse school she saw enema. Got super aroused. Now we are talking about taking her virginity. She says before I take her NL virginity. Not terribly weird. But humorous to me. This girl wanted me to shove her head down when I was about to come. Like shove my dick as far down her throat as humanly possible. Naturally. I obliged. Cum. Would come out of her nose. I laughed every single time this happened. First night we spent the night together. We slept naked. She asked me what time I needed to get up in the morning. Told her. She asked me not to set an alarm. She'd wake me up. She woke me up head bobbing on my dick. She did this every morning for years. He has a huge ball torture kink and wanted me to draw blood from his balls and lick it off. Since I became a single mom, I've hooked up with some guy friends. And once we're rolling, I usually try to steer them away from sucking on my nipples. Cause you know, there will be milk. Except all of them insist on it, saying it's not weird, and then just starts to full on nurse on me like kittens. I don't even know if it's that weird since it's happened so many times. But I don't feel SY. One chick told me to talk to her PSSY. It was pretty awkward because it didn't answer back. Is it okay if daddy watches? Like her actual father? A picture of her father? Jesus? My wife once wanted me to tie her up with the window shade cords and her in the ass. Yes. I know how tame that sounds. But I'm normally about as adventurous as, say, Rachel Green. I can't come unless you tell me you're a good girl. Apostrophe. Another girl couldn't get off unless she was physically touching my dick. Like, I could go down on her or play with her tits and it wouldn't do much unless she had some form of direct contact with my dick. She wanted to finger my gills. Fresca. My first GF asked me to pee while inside her. It didn't work. A girl wanted me to make the ahigo face. I just couldn't risk that being screenshotted. I just couldn't risk that being screenshotted. This is how I know you're gonna be okay out there. I'm so proud. I had a guy ask me to swallow dice and marbles because girls swallowing objects that weren't food really turned him on. Oh man, to see you swallow those marbles and imagine they're in your belly rolling around in there. It's so hot. He was a funny dude. Also, another guy wanted me to stick a screwdriver up his ass while he vomited on me. I didn't text him again. Sometimes men DM me with role-playing scenarios that involve them being teeny tiny people. And I step on them. Or accidentally eat them or something. I was naked in bed with a girl I'd been dating for a few weeks. We hadn't had sex yet. But things were going that way. All of a sudden, she leaned back and said, "Can I tie you up and beat you with a stick?" She had a pretty twisted sense of humor, so I laughed it off and went to keep kissing her. But she pushed me back down into the bed and said, with a manic glint in her eyes, "No. I'm serious. I want to tie you up and beat you with a stick." I politely declined and immediately went completely flaccid. Disappointed. She then asked me to at least cut her with the knife she kept under her bed. The conversation about boundaries at this spark lasted 3 hours and turned into her divulging how much she hated her father and that she didn't understand what empathy was. Noped out of there first thing the next morning.